Next we're going to talk about, we'll call that a disk drive. The disk drive is truly the piece of the hardware that separates the Macintosh from your calculator. The disk drive is used to store large amount of data for long periods of time. The disk drive, unlike any of the other devices, is an input and an output device. Let me explain how that works. When storing a page from the CPU that you've been working on, it can be output to the disk drive for storage. At that point, the disk drive is an output device. When you need that page again and need to recall it from the disk drive, that data has to be input from the disk drive, thus making the disk drive an input and an output device at different times. Next, we're going to discuss the operating system. The operating system is the internal software that allows the CPU to communicate with the other devices. As an example of the operating system, you would select a file from your hard disk. The operating system would set up the electrical signals it would take to allow you to access that data. Using figure 3, we can see the simple boot up of a computer system. The operating system during power off time resides in the ROM memory, the read-only memory. When the machine is powered up through the power up switch, the ROM memory is excited and loads the CPU and random access memory with data. This data is instructions on how to start up the system. Once the CPU has accessed the RAM memory and executed the instructions given to it from the ROM, the CPU will go out to the disk drive and start up your computer system. Next, we're going to discuss the configuration of the American Color VisVita layout and design system. What we have here in front of us is all the hardware that's consisted in what we call the file server. The file server consists of a Mac 2 family CPU, whether it's a Mac 2, 2X, or FX, an extended keyboard with a mouse, and 19-inch monitor. A high-resolution input scanner, and 2 output devices. One black and white, the LaserWriter 2, and the QMS color proofer. The VisVita system also uses 3 different types of disk drives. On the left, we have the 620 megabyte hard drive. It's called the hard drive because it has multiple platters inside that are fixed and not removable, making them stay in place. That one we will again refer to as the hard drive. In the center, we have the 45 megabyte removable. The 45 megabyte removable acts as a giant floppy disk. To the right, we have the 650 megabyte removable optical disk. The optical disk is used for deep archiving. What we have here is the VisVita Design and Layout Design Station. As we can see, it looks very similar to the other units we've just discussed, except this one does not have the wide array of input and output devices. The design station has the capability to communicate with the file server via 2 or 3 different communication protocols. As we can see here in Figure 4, the simple Macintosh block diagram, that we are still have the same 3 parts we started with as we did with our pocket calculator. From left to right, we still have an input, we still have a CPU with memory. Due to the new technology, work will be arriving at American Color in new ways. The new way work will come in is in 3 parts. The first part is the photographic transparency. This is our normal transparency, and it should be handled in the same way normal input scanning is handled. Next is the thermal proof. This is an example of a thermal proof that is used by the studio system operator as a stat for putting the images in position. And finally, the optical disc. The optical disc contains the page layout information from the customer that can be downloaded into our studio systems. The transparency and the scanner card are given to the scanner foreman so the transparency can be scanned in at high resolution and then transferred to the studio system. Next, the optical disc from the customer is given to the production Macintosh operator. The optical disc is inserted and then the page plan is brought up onto the screen. Certain processing is needed to be done at this point before the image can be sent to the studio system. After the images have been stored and the page plan has been worked on by the production Macintosh operator, the page plan is then sent to the Sun workstation we see here. This interprets the information from the Macintosh into a studio system compatible format. Finally, the page plan and the images are stored in the studio system, and our 4-color, 2-size thermal proof is given to the studio system operator as a stat to drop in the images at high resolution into the page plan provided by the customer. Finally, after the studio operator has dropped in all the images into the customer page plan and the page is assembled, the output film can be generated through the output units. As we can see here, a fully complete negative can be output from the studio system, completing the process.